Hi everyone, it's Monica, and welcome back to Tailor-Made Cards for You. Well, today we're going to be putting together a card using one of these little critters. Now this is a set from Holtz, and it's one of the Thinlit collections, and it's one of those sets where you have to actually put all the little pieces together to create the fun little images. Now I know many of us stray away from these little sets because there's so many intricate little pieces, and it is a little bit hard to put them together. But I'm going to give you some ideas on how I approach these sets, and hopefully it'll make it a little bit less intimidating. I'm also going to give you an idea of how to create the wood background that you see here without having to actually have the die cut. When the die cut came out from Holtz, it was one of the ones that I wanted to get. But again, I have to be picky when I'm actually buying my supplies. So I decided to go ahead and just use my embossing folder to create the background. And I still think it works. I think it came out pretty good. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that I do when I'm going to put together one of these little characters is I separate all of the dies according to the character. So as you can see, I have these four little packages on the side of my screen, and these are all separated by characters. So I have the snowman in one, the deer in another, I've got the penguin in the third one, and then the little snowman in the fourth one. And then what I do is I just kind of pull out my paper and I go to town cutting it with my Sidekick. And then I put all of the little pieces inside the packet. And if I have one color that I'm working with, I might just cut several pieces out and then keep them in the little packet. And that way, when I go to create the little characters again, I already have some of the pieces already cut and ready to go. So once I have all the pieces separated, it's time to put the character together. I'm using some collage medium to put my character together just because I find it a lot easier than using glue. I also can use the collage medium to adhere not only the bigger pieces but the smaller pieces. Now on some of the pieces that does have some distress ink, so you're going to want to look at your picture on your packaging, and that will help you put your character together. These little characters really aren't difficult to put together. They're just a little time consuming. So if you are creating some of these characters, my recommendation would be to create several when you're sitting down. When you're going to create these, don't necessarily plan on putting your card together. Just create the little characters and then have them saved away. This will also help on the drawing time. So when I sat down to create these, I had cut out several pieces, and I knew I was going to put several of the characters together. And then that way, when I go to create my card the next time, I already have these characters all ready to go. The paper that I'm using for my little characters is the Ranger Distress collection. And this collection is great because the cardstock is a little bit thicker. And then you can also take some sandpaper or a sanding block to distress the paper just a little bit more, because once you sand it, then it will give it some of that grunge distress look. Now probably the most difficult part to actually put on the character was the little face, and that's because these pieces are the smallest. You have a couple of dots for eyes, and then you have a little piece for the nose for the specific reindeer. So if those pieces are too small for you, you can easily take out a marker, one of your Copic colors, or even a ballpoint pen, and just create the eyes using that. I went ahead and I did use the small pieces, and I'm using my little tool to actually pick up and add some of the collage medium to my piece. And then I'm using this little tool to just put them in place. It may not be exactly perfect. It might be a little bit crooked, but that's all right. So just take your time when you are putting these pieces together. And remember, they are really small, so you want to make sure that you have them in a place where you're not going to cover them or actually lose them, because it would be really easy to lose these little pieces. And then once I have the piece actually in place, then I will add a little bit more collage medium over the top to just make sure it is secure. Now there are little accessories that come with this set. The deer actually has some glasses, and there's a little scarf as well as a mustache. So keep in mind, you can use these pieces with some of your other dies. I have another deer that's not as intricate, but I did add the little scarf to him, and it worked perfectly. So don't think that you're limited to just using these sets to the actual set that it came in. Be creative and use some of your accessories with other your dies as well. So once I had my little character put together, it was time to put the card together. Now I wanted to have the deer look like it was mounted on the wall. And I didn't have a wood piece to mount it on, so I went ahead and created my own. So I'm using my circle die cuts, and then I just simply took my wood grain embossing folder and I ran it through my Big Shot. And that created a wood grain look that worked perfectly. Now I know that there are some dies out there that accomplish this look for you, so if you have those, I would certainly use those. But unfortunately, I didn't have that on hand. And even when they came out, I had considered purchasing the die because I really liked the look, but I knew that I could recreate it. So again, I kind of chose not to go that way and simply create my own. And then in order to get some of those rigid edges that you might see on the die, I just took my distressing tool and I just roughed up the edges a little bit, and then I added some distress ink to make it look a little bit worn. Once I had my wood piece distressed exactly the way I wanted it, I got out some of my plaid cardstock to finish putting the card together. The paper I chose to use is from the Holtz collection, and the actual piece of paper that I chose was the plaid. I also had some plaid washi tape that was a nice contrast, so I went ahead and I used that to embellish the card as well. So once I had the card completely put together, it was time to add my sentiment. Now there were a lot of ways I could have gone with this sentiment. There's so many choices in the word chips, but I did decide to go with just a simple season's greetings. I think this is my favorite card so far. I really love the way that it turned out, and I'm excited to try some of the other little characters as well. Hopefully I'll have some time to put those cards together in this series. So as a final touch, I decided to take one of my craft envelopes and add a little bit of matching washi tape. I thought this really finished off the project. Alright, so as always, I will leave a list of all the products that I've used to create the card along with the links to the stores. If you've enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave me a thumbs up. So far in this series, I've been able to post a video every couple of days. But if I am not able to meet that schedule, don't forget, if you subscribe to my channel and hit the little bell, then you will be notified every time I add a video. And also, don't forget, I will be giving some giveaways in this series. I plan to start giving some, doing some drawings and some giveaways, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. So be sure to leave me a comment. I am going to be choosing randomly from some of the videos to give away some of my prizes. All right, everybody. Hopefully you've enjoyed this tutorial today, and we'll see you again next time.